to bring in better engagement and to accelerate the enrollment by reaching out to more people. Now, I believe we have a third member of the panel. Operator, could you please make sure we've got that individual, Uche, with us?
Yes, we're trying to reach Uche.
Right, Uche. Okay, excellent. So all of you are here. I'm going to start with Landry Youssef. Landry, clearly what the DG talked about, which is the SIM linkage with the NIN, required the development of faster enrollment and more accessible enrollment platforms. So that means that there has been, it's not the fixed model where you go to an office and you do that. Talk to us about the strategy that the software group that you administer in NIMC had to do, and how it partnered with SIMFIX in order to develop a critical mobile software.
The government agency, we can't do everything by ourselves. We really needed to partner with private companies and individuals. That led us into bringing SIMFIX on board. And I can tell you, Dr. Asif, since SIMFIX developed the Android solution, we went through a lot of back and forth to make sure that the standards are met, to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. We've actually covered a major milestone because we see that with the introduction of the front-end partners, adopting the World Bank ecosystem policy, we've been able to cover and enroll more citizens across Nigeria. Nigeria is a big country, as you know. We have a lot of places that are not digitally connected. So sometimes you need to reach out to those areas. Also, cost is a factor. With the Android system, it's a little bit less expensive than dedicated Windows that we know of. So we've been able to achieve a lot of milestones, registering more people and bringing more people on board. I think SIMFIX, who is here, Chibulo, who is the co-founder of SIMFIX, will run us through a presentation of how it started, what they have done so far. So I think it will be an exciting moment for everyone. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Engage SIMFIX to work with her to come up with a solution that will help NIMC reach out. So going beyond the offices that NIMC had around the nation, but going into the hinterland, to riverine areas, down into the streets, to markets, to places where you have high density of people. But NIMC going out to be able to meet people, not just people coming to meet NIMC, and even enabling Nigerians in the diaspora to make it easier for them to also acquire their name. And so because of we currently service the telcos as well, we also help the telcos with their SIM registration. So it was a natural segue for us into moving over and also providing the mobile NIN enrollment solution for NIMC. So one important thing that we had to consider was costs, like Mr. Larry said, and on the other hand as well, security. So it's a fine balance between making sure that you're able to provide something that is low cost, but at the same time, high security. We ensure that the application, which you can see on the screen, on the mobile form factor there, takes security very seriously. We ensure we encrypt the data that is on the device, and the app is hosted in NIMC, not on the App Store. That way, NIMC is able to have significant control over who has the application and how it is distributed. Now, what does the mobile enrollment solution do? It's pretty simple. It's similar to what the desktop application does today, which is number one, doing a pre-enrollment check to confirm that whoever shows up for capture. So imagine the agent goes to a market, and in the marketplace, he's able to engage with Nigerians there and wants to do a capture. They do an enrollment check to confirm that the person does not already have a name. And if the person doesn't have a name, then a capture is done for the person. The demographics, which is basic data like your name, your date of birth, and all that is captured. Then your biometrics, essentially your fingerprints and your face, and then also any supporting documents are required. And then your NIM is generated, a NIM slip, an enrollment slip is generated and printed and given to you. And then subsequently, when your NIM is now generated by NIMC, then a NIM slip is given to you with a number on it, which is actually the core token here, the NIN number. If you think about it, if you're with this solution, NIMC was going to empower agents to work with her to go to the field. And when you're empowering agents to go to the field to do work for you, you now have to start thinking about quality. And so something that was very key to us in this was how to enforce high quality data capture at the field, at the point of capture, so that you don't go back to the office and then see a lot of dirty data has flown into the system. So starting from the demographics that are being captured, we do lots of quality checks from regular expressions to make sure that the names, the phone numbers, the email, every information captured is valid. You don't want agents or anybody trying to put in irrelevant information at that layer. And this doesn't just stop with the demographics. It also flows to the biometrics. So when you look at the face, in the past, in our early life providing systems like this, we have had situations where people try to scam or game the system by utilizing a picture rather than capturing a live human being. So we have lots of checks at the front end to make sure that anybody being captured is a human being. So we have the concept of a liveliness check that makes sure that the person that is in front of the camera is actually interact, maybe blink or smile, and the software is able to detect that indeed it's a human being captured, not just a picture or something else. And then we also make sure that the picture is of high quality, because why are we enrolling? The point of the enrollment is so that in future, verifications can be done against that ID, and thus transactions can be enabled. And so we also ensure that the image being captured meets up to all the necessary quality standards from ICAO. The image is not blurry, the image is bright enough, the background is clear, and all sorts of checks are done real time at the front end. And these checks happen even while the device is offline. So it doesn't require any connection to the backend to do that. The same thing flows to the fingerprint. We also do quality checks to make sure that at the point of capture of your fingerprints, of the person's individual fingerprints, we ensure that the right quality is captured. So there's also another standard where we adhere to the NFIQ standard to make sure that the quality of the images, the fingerprints being captured, meets a certain minimum threshold. There's no dirty or noisy data getting into the system. And once all that is done, the information is then wrapped and synchronized to the backend in a secure manner. The data is encrypted. So during transport, we usually secure the data while in the system, while in the device, in transport, and then also in memory. So the information captured is securely encrypted with RSA, and then it is also shipped over to the backend. We have a VPN connection between all devices and the NIMC backend for security purposes as well as HTTPS. And like we mentioned earlier, cost was a factor for us. So from the design, from the onset, we determined that the Android solution was going to be device agnostic. What this meant was that it was going to support a myriad of devices. And so from Android tablets to Android phones to all-in-one devices, we have devices that have been manufactured to have every component in it, like the SimFix One device at the bottom left that has the tablet, the fingerprint scanner to one side, and the printer to the other. And we support different types of fingerprint scanners. And as time goes on, we keep adding more and more support for more devices. The tablet, as you can see on the screen, is able to connect to the fingerprint reader via the cable that you see on the screen there. So technically, an agent can walk into the field with a tablet in his hand, the Kojak 5.0 in his pocket, and a cable. And he's mobile enough to go and do an enrollment. He doesn't need to carry a desk. He doesn't need to carry huge computers or anything of the sort. And we have ensured that all the devices that we certify for the capture process are low power rated, which means that they are able to draw minimal power from the tablet during the capture process, and then therefore the tablet can last for longer while the agents are in the field. Of course, we have minimum specifications for the operating system and the devices. Of course, the focus here has been on Android because this is Africa. And in Africa, the proliferation of devices you have out there are mostly Android devices. And because one of the objectives was to empower partners, so NIMC wanted to empower her front-end partners to be able to go to the field. Many of them already have devices. Many of them already have heavy investments in infrastructure, just like even the MNOs that spoke in the panel before, just before this. And therefore, the more devices you're able to support in their existing ecosystem, the cheaper the overall cost of ownership. So we employ a bring your own device scheme as long as it meets the minimum specs. On the left, you can see a capture process being done for someone, and that is what is in use there is the all-in-one tablet. So the facial capture is being done, and once that concludes, then the fingerprints will be captured. You can see the scanner at the top of the device over there. Of course, with this, we have been able to help NIMC bridge a significant gap. Because we are able to enforce the same level of quality that they have in their offices with the desktop solution at the field, NIMC is now able to securely go to the field and acquire as many enrollments as possible, bringing it closer to the common man. The agents that are employed, we also have a process for training and screening the enrollment agents that the front-end partners of NIMC bring to participate in the scheme. And all of them also have names as well. What that does for us is we are able to track and trace at any point in time if there are any issues that occur during the process. And of course, for every enrollment that is done, we have loads of metadata that is captured from the device. What device did the capture? At what time did the capture happen? How long did it take to do this capture? Were there any issues? Maybe they tried fingerprint twice before it was successful, or they tried this. That way we are learning, because this is a continuous learning process for us as well as for NIMC. And with all the data that we acquire about the enrollment environment and the enrollment process, we are able to keep improving and improving upon this solution. We also have offline capture capabilities. That way, an agent can go to the field, and even if there is no network, or for whatever reason, there is a backend issue that causes connectivity not to occur, he can still go ahead and do the capture. And when he's done, whenever he comes back and he gets into an area where there is network coverage, then it is able to synchronize back to the backend. That way, we are reducing the friction at the front end with the customer. And this, like the panel spoke earlier, we also have the NIN enrollment to SIM registration linkage, which we also support as a company. And therefore, we also support the telcos to upgrade their systems to also perform the SIM NIN linkage. And what has been the outcome of this? Since we went live in April last year, of course, with a phased rollout, first with a small number of front-end partners, and then we keep increasing the number of front-end partners as we go along. Today, we have about 90 or more front-end enrollment partners of NIMC. Some of them are in country here, some of them are in various countries in the diaspora. So we have front-end partners in the US, in UK, in various countries that are now servicing Nigerians in the diaspora. In country here, we have the MNOs and many other companies as well that are working with NIMC, including even other government parastatals, working with NIMC to spread the reach to service Nigerians. Today, we have over 7,000 agents, and both the NIN enrollment and the mobile enrollment and the SIM linkage processes together have led to over 20 million increase in the NIN enrollments over the last year. What have been our learnings from the experience so far? There is a saying that the Japanese have, that's called Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. That has been the process that NIMC and SIMFIS have undertaken. For us, this is a journey, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And therefore, each day, we learn from the experiences of our partners, we learn from what we see in the field, and we continually improve. Something we have realized is essential is offline capability. It is not an option, it is mandatory, it's essential, particularly in Africa, if you are going to really be able to service people anywhere, anytime. Something we've also realized is that effective engagement between everybody, the citizens, the ecosystem, is really critical for success. Citizens need to understand why the agent standing in front of them with the mobile phone is actually a valid person and not somebody that attempted to steal their identity. For those who are already used to seeing NIN enrollment happening in offices, they need to understand that this person in front of them is also part of the ecosystem. And so all sorts of engagement, all sorts of education of the public needs to keep happening. Regulatory policies that aid, because it's one thing to have the software in place, it's another thing to also have the policies that drive people to want to come and do this. So policies like the SIM-NIN linkage are critical. Policies like ensuring that the international passport, when issued, needs to happen with a NIN are critical for ensuring that more and more people come out and utilize this software, this infrastructure that has been put in place by the government. Of course, supporting various mobile devices is key as well, because for us, we decided not to go the route of having particular requirements in terms of devices, just this device can work. We realized that would be too expensive. But by supporting a myriad of device form factors and device types, we have been able to make it accessible for all. It's also very important to have highly flexible software and infrastructure. Over the course of the last year, we have been on this. We have had to change at certain points in time, for instance, the demographic data being captured. So the ease at which you are able to make the changes to the system and cascade it down to the agents is very critical. Also, the ease at which the infrastructure and the backend is able to scale is really important. For instance, in this project, we have had to, together with NIMC, work on scaling not just the software, but also the backend infrastructure to support the huge increase in number of agents, and by inference, the number of people being serviced. And of course, it goes without saying that security is really critical. It's not an afterthought, it's something that has to be on the front burner. And at every point in time, we're working together to continually improve and to monitor the solution to make sure that we are one step ahead. So yes, that's